add one or two?
That feels like a bad idea.
Okay.
Why choose Kelly Chevrolet? We offer a wide selection of new and used inventory with a team that guides you to your perfect fit. Our certified pre-owned options ensure peace of mind with warranties and rigorous inspections. Competitive pricing, flexible financing, and convenient trade and services, making your dream Chevrolet a reality. Trust our experienced service team to keep your vehicle in top shape, and enjoy free car washes as long as you own your vehicle.
And are we live, Jeff?
We're good to go, Casey.
Okay. Welcome, everybody, to week 2 of the 2024 season. This is Around the Fort. I'm Casey O'Boyle with Game Night, joined, of course, by Jeff Mahoney from Summit City Sports. Jeff, how are you remotely? We see your beautiful head there on the square.
Oh, doing pretty good, Casey. Excited for week number 2. Boy, week number 1 was something else with some of the scores coming in. I know we're going to get to that later, but happy to be on and happy for our guest.
Yes, and we apologize, everybody, if you're tuning in live. We're running a little behind. We had some technical difficulties. We had a youth football game go awry. We've got a visitor here, Robbie, the Orange Death Cat. Made his first appearance, so he could be showing himself at any time. I hear him lurking over here, and so I've got Jackson and Jake the Snake, and of course Coach Chris DePew. Want to introduce from Garrett High School. Finally, after like 100 invitations, made it down to the cave. Coach, welcome to the program.
Thanks for having me. I don't remember the other 99 invitations.
Well, there's probably been 2 or 3, but to be fair, you are the athletic director, and you oftentimes have conflicts and other commitments.
I'm a busy fellow. You
really are. And he's very tired tonight. So we've been pumping him with some caffeine so we can get a good 20 to 22 minutes out of him. So Coach, thanks for being here. Let's jump right into it. Let's talk last week. I believe the Sideline Swami predicted a Garrett upset over Adams Central. I don't know how he does it. And the Railroaders delivered 20-7, and that yielded you the Colts, Indianapolis Colts Coach of the Week honor, and also Game Night Coach of the Week honor, which I'm sure probably was just a hair more important to you.
Yeah. I found out about the Game Night one when I walked in the door tonight.
I had a shirt in my garage, and I thought this needs to be on Chris.
Colts called me Sunday morning, though, so
well,
they beat me to it.
I've never been accused of being a trailblazer, so that had to be a neat honor. Did you know that?
Yeah.
Did you even think about that kind of stuff in the moment, or that's a pretty cool honor?
Yeah, I mean, in general, no. I mean, the last few years, we haven't been real good, so it wouldn't be anything to expect, to be honest. But, you know, I have a lot of my friends I've seen win that thing over the years, and I had a fair idea of what all comes with it, but it's even more than I realized. I knew they had you down for a game and on the field at the end of the season with the rest of the coaches of the week, but man, they throw some money at your program.
$2,000, is that right? Did I see that right?
And there's some other things, some helmets or something. They don't even know what it is yet. And then 8 tickets for the game, a tailgate party. You get to go to practice a couple days ahead of time.
Not a bad deal.
So yeah,
cool.
It's pretty cool. And you know they you know it is. They support football and in the state so well at every form of it, and
have since they moved here. Yep.
Yeah, they've been great. So, and my in-laws have had tickets for a while, so I've been able to go to games for a while, and always really have been a Colts fan since they got here. So it's pretty neat.
That's cool. Well, let's talk about the win over Adams Central. They handled you guys pretty easily a year ago, and granted, they graduated a ton of guys from the 3 state finalist teams. But Coach Mosier's built quite a program down there. They just really, for a 1A school, they reload remarkably well. But you guys look so good, and they could not run the ball like they're accustomed to. And was that the key? to stopping them?
Yeah, I mean, when you play them, and even though we knew their new quarterback had a pretty good arm, and we had an expectation that they might want to throw more because they have, I think they've always had a decent ability to, but felt like
They didn't have to in the past.
yeah, like they came to that, the 7-on-7 tournament we were in this summer, and I hadn't seen them there before, and I kept glancing over there when they were playing on their field because I want to see what they were doing, and they were all 2x2 spread stuff the whole time, which was, that's just not their every down offense for sure. So we kind of expected to have to defend more of a pass game, and they really, they went to it more heavily in the second half when they were down a couple of scores. So we were ready for it, I felt like.
And they were up 7-zip early on, right?
Yeah, we we kicked off to them. Great defensive series, 3 and out, got the ball back, and a couple plays into that first drive, we had a fumbled snap and gave them a short field, like 30 yards maybe, and they put a nice drive together and scored. And then let's see, we kind of went back and forth a little bit till right towards the end of the first half, and then it just went nuts. We had we scored a couple 2 and change in the half, missed their extra point, or it got blocked, 7-6, and then kicked off to them, called timeout to save some clock because they were punting to us, punted to us, so we maybe were around the 50, and called a pass play, and our quarterback had a nice scramble. It's kind of nice to have a guy that can do that.
Calder Hefty.
Yeah, he was he took it to the house and threw up everywhere.
Awesome.
Had put in his freshman cousin to try to take a snap for a 2-point conversion. We would have kicked it maybe, but Calder's our holder too. So
it was a domino effect at that point.
We were chasing points, I guess, still. So kind of early for it, but we did. And that didn't go well. So it's 12-7. And then is like 20 seconds to go in a half. And one of the other coaches is like, you want to send Calder in, just get him a head start on halftime because he was sick all week. And so he was hurting. And they muffed the kick return and we recovered it. And suddenly our crowd's going nuts. And Calder kind of heard that. He was just sticking his head out of the locker room. He comes sprinting back out.
It was like a chicken noodle soup.
Oh,
Joe Montana
dude,
thing.
Love it.
It was straight off television,
I didn't know that.
like the
That's
Friday
pretty
Night
cool.
Lights episode.
Yeah.
And he comes running out. I give him a play. It's like a post wheel combination. He read it perfect. They chased the post. He hits
that
the
Noose
wheel.
Bomb?
Yeah, wheeled a noose bomb, and
Wow.
and then we get the 2-point conversion. Suddenly, we're
20 points like that.
which we don't do that real often, and turned out to be the only 20 we scored. So
And that was the final score.
yeah,
20-7.
I mean, I called the game real close to the vest the second half. Once we were defending them well, and with the 2-score lead, I wasn't about to just
get too
hand it
cute.
back over.
Yep.
So yeah, I don't know. We were close to scoring another time or two, and it screwed it up.
That happens.
But it was we don't. The games we have won the last couple of years, not many are blowouts. Or rarely have we been comfortable in the fourth quarter, including this one. So, they're. I told Coach Moser after. I know they have some new guys, but man, they're still good, and they're
hard-nosed.
They're tough to get them out. So
Well, it was a great win. Jake, do you got a question for Coach?
Yeah, so congrats on the big win, Coach. But what position group were you most proud of in that game and that big win?
I'd say our front four on defense.
Nice.
They even when we went to some nickel stuff on some obvious pass downs, even with 3, those guys got a pretty good pass rush.
Very good.
Aiden Hunt, Chase Egley on the inside, Mason Balzer, and Levi Chaney at the ends. They played a real good game, and they had a lot to do with stopping the run. And then pass rush when we needed it. So they were fantastic.
Very nice. Jeff, you got a question for Coach DePew?
Yeah, Coach, on your Twitter there, it showed perfect attendance in the summer. Is that something new for the program? And do you attribute a lot of that to your senior leadership, especially with Calder Hefty and Cameron Rubel?
They in some ways, I mean, neither of them were perfect attendance, I think, but that's something we've done for a while. I mean, I think most programs have something similar to that. You can't really make summer mandatory, so we have to go to the reward end to emphasize it. So if our kids have perfect summer attendance, I paint up some railroad spikes and write perfect attendance on them for the year, and probably owe B&O Railroad or whoever that is, because I just go walk out down the tracks and find some rusty ones and wire brush them and paint them. But we do that, and then their parents get a parking pass. If their son was perfect attendance in the summer, this is to motivate them to get them out of bed in the morning. They get the park in the front row, right by
where
the
the
front
coaches
gate.
do.
Yeah, just as good a spot as we get. So,
Very nice. That's a pretty cool idea.
So it's not new, but it helps. Yeah,
that's a great idea. Ladies and gentlemen, if you're just now tuning in to Around the Fort, we've got Garrett coach Chris DePew joining us in the cave. This is not Coach DePew's first time in the cave. He was here about 20 years ago and lost his shirt in a poker game. And and I probably was invited back as many times to be on Around the Fort and blew off all those invitations. Is that fake news? Okay.
Fake news. I'm pretty sure I was not invited back because of the amount I took home.
Okay. Well, we'll have former New Haven coach Jim Rowland on at some point to verify that one way or another. But Coach, let's talk a little bit. We've been friends for a long time. Early days of game night, you were an assistant at East Noble, Tim Abel's state championship team, and then you took that program over and kept the Knights on the train tracks, made a run to state yourself with Jeff Wedding at QB. Just fell short in the 4A final. How have kids changed through the years, or have kids changed through the years? We hear that a lot from people that think they know what they're talking about. Do you think kids have changed or no?
I don't think kids have changed much. I think families have changed a lot. Parenting has changed a lot. Society has changed a lot. And I think, if you are firm and direct with somebody, you're yelling at them by today's definition,
right? Things
like that, but kids are still motivated the same ways. But I think if we want to comment negatively on kids these days, it's more whatever they are is a reflection of who they're around and what they're being told.
Right.
But I think kids aren't very different. Kids still want structure. They still want to be corrected. They still want to be good. With social media and some of that stuff, they're maybe motivated in ways differently. And we coaches who are older now have had to change. Last year, if you had told me 20 years ago, that I would have disco lights in the locker room after a win, turn off the lights for dance party, I
gotta get up there.
Were nuts. I would have kicked myself.
No way we're doing that.
We started doing it last year, man. They love it.
Yeah.
It's kind of fun. I try to bust a move for them just for humor's sake. I think.
Do you want to hear for us tonight, Coach? You got anything for us?
For you. Nope,
okay.
Nope.
Jake,
not doing it.
So going into the game this week a little bit, what are your concerns? What do you obviously you're not going to tell us too much of your game plan, but what are you expecting to see this Friday night?
Well, they that team to the northeast of us.
You're a big fan of DeKalb, I'm sure.
Well, they've had some big fellas the last couple of years, and they're still kind of like that. So, we've had our share of size at Garrett even, but they've just had some big mashers, and they've
pushed you around a little bit.
Yeah, a little bit. They've had some, and they got a big, strong running back, and I'm sure he is going to get the ball a lot tomorrow night, and but you can't just focus on that, obviously, because they have some other guys too. Their quarterback, I don't think he's a big arm guy, but he really seems like a good game manager. You can tell his football IQ is high, and I don't think he's going to do stupid things for them. And they got a slot that's got some speed.
Xavier Bell.
Yeah, so they're
Junior, yep.
And then defensively, they're that stack defense, that 3-3 stuff is different. We play a 9 or 10 game season and we'll see it once, and that's it. And so it changes some things in your schemes that don't carry over as well from other fronts that you block.
You don't
So-
prep it or practice against it a lot
Yeah,
either.
I mean, in a
like the SAC schools, a lot of them are playing 3-man fronts right now.
Yeah, I hear that. Like SEC is all odd
Right.
front stuff, but this isn't just odd front; it's a stack where there's a slant and a blitz every 2-man combo, and so your linemen have to have their eyes open, and especially in the pass game, there's just so many complicated blitzes that are really going to test your protections, and so that's a lot to think about. And for a high school kid, we're a small school, and unlike bigger schools that have football events in the winter time and spring football, the Indiana's version of it, we don't really get that luxury. So we can't get real complicated in what we do because we just don't have the same kind of time as those bigger schools do.
Well, before I turn it over to you, Jeff, real quick, the running back you're talking about, Coach, is Caden Hinkle from DeKalb. 31 carries, 209 yards last week. A really nice game, week 1 of performance by Caden Hinkle. And then, of course, Will Weber is the quarterback who is the nephew of one Brad Weber. Jeff, take it away.
Yeah, Coach, you talk about Garrett being a smaller school. And some of the biggest growth in Indiana is happening between Garrett and Carroll High School as far as just houses being built, much closer to Carroll than Garrett. But as an athletic director, are you seeing more and more athletes over at Garrett with the growth of the north side, the Huntertown area of Fort Wayne?
Maybe a little. I think whatever growth we have is, our curriculum, and we have some unique things at our school that bring, out of our 550 students, almost 100 are transfer kids.
Wow.
And they come from every direction, but most of it is for our curriculum, where we have a career development program that's gets a lot of attention statewide, and work-based learning stuff. And so we get a lot of kids that come for that. Some are athletes, but I've kind of joked for years that as close as Carroll is, we could put up a billboard somewhere on Lime Road and say, "Hey, are you the 6th man on your basketball team? Go 10 more minutes north, man. We could probably make a star out of you." Comparing what a big school backup to a small school starter,
Right. Sometimes they're even
do it.
3 or 4 deep.
Yeah,
And some of those 2 deeps.
Yeah, I mean, it's in but we've done some demographic studies, and they say not in the real near future, but down the road, we're probably going to see some of that growth. I mean, those housing additions are really getting real close to the county line, and I think our district should or could be next. I don't know if it's going to happen during my career still, but it's a little bit. I think we have a couple kids. I have one kid on my team right now that lives in the Carroll district. His brother just came this year. He's a middle schooler. Not a ton though, but I think it's on its way.
Trickling a little bit.
Yeah.
Okay. Coach, we got about 7 or 8 minutes left in this segment. And I just want to ask you a little bit about, I guess, that the decision all those years ago to leave East Noble and come to Garrett. You're a Garrett graduate. You married a Garrett gal whose dad has some lineage with the program. Talk a little bit about that for our viewers that don't know that history there.
Yeah, I went to East Noble for my first real teaching job in the 94, and we weren't very good, and then it took a little time, and it became something special. When I first got there, I thought I won't be here very long. And then the longer I stayed, I thought I'll never go anywhere else. But even when I was a younger coach and my wife knew that I told her at some point I want to be a head coach, she said, "That's fine, but we're going to live in Garrett." And so I'm glad she did that. So East Noble was close enough that I was able to pull it off. And then my kids got into high school. My oldest, Katie, I missed a lot. All my kids have been 3-sport girls, and I missed a lot of her games because by the time she got to high school, I was also the athletic director. So, I mean, dude, you can't. It's just you're there all the time.
Only so much time. Yeah.
So, this combination of jobs came open in 2012, and it was just hard to pass up. I mean, they kind of reached out to me, to be honest, and that was flattering. And I was really interested anyway. I might have probably to them even reached out, but then, like I said at the time, I definitely wasn't running from anything. I mean, East Noble was fantastic, great 18 years, the best thing I could have done for my career. It really worked out, and a lot of great memories. And our Thursday speaker tonight was Luke Amstutz, and he did an awesome job. Yeah, fired the kids up. And but I couldn't pass it up. And so I'm home, and there's it's usually great. Sometimes if you got the win totals up there, you look at the last few years. I mean, it's a little tougher to coach in your hometown when it's not going well.
I was going to ask you, do you get rabbit ears every once in a while on the sidelines, or do you block it out?
I don't hear it, but
because you have your headset on, or are you that in tune to the game?
I think it's that, but the hard part is when people are critical. I mean, you're
human.
Your kids are there.
Yeah.
Your wife is there.
Right.
Your players hear it, and our parents are generally great. Every now and then you get some knucklehead, but you pay your $6, you think you can say what you want, but I really don't think it should be that way so much. But it hasn't been that bad. Sometimes things happen off the field that are not on your control. I mean, kids do stupid things sometimes, and I don't have them 24 hours a day. I get them 3 months a year, 2 hours a day, and my influence, I'd like to think we influence kids to do the right things as well as we can. Sometimes they, like everywhere, every school,
step out a little bit.
High school kids do dumb things sometimes. So that's hard sometimes too, but you got to have thick skin. Our family rule for a long time has been, we don't read Facebook. And if you do, don't tell me what it says, because.
But you read Game Night though. I know you're a big avid Game Night reader.
Yep. And, but even though you read that stuff, even when it's good, it's not healthy. I don't think it's not healthy to listen to it.
Try to stay in the middle.
Yeah. Right? So I just, anytime you lead anything, you have to be confident in what you're doing. You got to eliminate the noise. You got to believe in what you're doing and do it. And just to try to do every decisions, do the most good for the most people. And that's how we do things. And usually works out. But sometimes wins don't come, and there's a lot of factors involved that aren't necessarily things we can always help.
No doubt. Jake?
Changing gears for a sec, Coach. So I'm a big small town guy. Over in Columbia City, we've got Big G's, great little restaurant. Every small town's got them. Where's your spot that you're going in Garrett? What is in Garrett? Where are you eating?
Well, Coterie Pizza is not bad. Yeah, that's a good place. A lot of people come from out of town there. I mean, whatchamacallit, the steak place uptown is real popular. That's hard to even sit and eat on the weekend. There's a little place called the Cantina that Friday, Saturday nights, just find a lot of people, good fried fish during Lent.
There we go.
Things like that. But we eat a little Mexican place called Lalo's. That's where the coaches eat on Fridays.
There we go.
We got about 4 or 5 spots.
That's great.
Worth visiting.
That's great.
Very nice. We got a couple minutes left. Jeff, you got one more question for Coach DePew.
Coach, your most successful season here, 2016. You ran into a very tough Concordia team that year that went on to win state. But was that a pretty memorable season for you, 2016? What do you remember most about that team?
They were fantastic kids. I mean, I slept fine every Saturday night knowing they were doing the right things off the field. Wow. But man, they were talented too. The group before them was the same, and I really wish that the previous year's seniors could have enjoyed a season like we had in 16, because they had really a lot to do with setting it up, I felt like. But we were pretty good, and we played that Culver team in the second round of the sectional who had beaten us. We really let one slip the year before in the sectional final. And the kids were enraged and ready to play that game and really took it to them. And then the regional at Mishawaka Marion was, playing Xander Horvath as a tailback. Yes. And they were real good.
They were tough
and
physically.
We probably play them 10 times. We win one, but we got them on the right night, and little 120-pound kid kicked the winning field goal.
Nice.
You know, at the very end, and that was pretty neat. You know, and then getting to host the semi-state, Concordia was. I mean, they were darn good. You know, and
They were on a mission that
yeah,
year.
and Tim's one of my buddies. I like him a lot. We talk a lot as AD football coaches, and I was happy for him to go on, but I watched what they did to Lawrenceburg, and I we all believed if we had found a way to win, we could have done something similar.
You
so
would have. You
felt
would have.
like we could have been a year to really do something, the most special thing. But Concordia was better than us.
They were so prolific that year, that passing attack, and there's a left print up there was from that year, and you could just see it. And those were a lot of that's back when Holy Cross was in the CYO, and a lot of those kids were CYO.
Oh, that Morrison kid was.
Oh, he was phenomenal.
Yeah, he was so good.
Went up to play up in Michigan, I believe, at Ann Arbor, or not at
Concordia. Ann
Concordia.
Arbor.
Concordia
Yes,
there,
thank you.
We had a 2-3 hour storm delay.
Oh, wow.
And so our field got muddy. And so we were debating, you know, the big debate between all of us was, what do we play tonight or do we push this till tomorrow? And I thought it strategically was good for us to play in mud. We were, you know, more of a running team. And
your DBs couldn't get their footing.
It didn't seem to matter. But if we had waited till Saturday, the temperature dropped like 30 or 40 degrees. The ground froze, and it was like a 30-mile-an-hour wind. Yeah, but that would have been a lot better for us. But should have let it go to Saturday.
Coach, it's like anything, right? You know, catch 22.
Yeah,
damned if you do, damned if you don't.
You know, well, it was good to be there, but dang, that probably would have gave us a better chance. But those are great kids. You know, we got, let's see, Tanner Burns, a quarterback, coaches with us now.
Oh, that's cool.
You know, instant credibility because, you know, all our passing records and kids are, you know, our kids know who he is. And Austin Johnson was a senior year before. You know, it's kind of neat, you know, having guys come back and coach with you that played for you. You know, they have a similar love for the game.
It speaks to you as a coach and your staff. I think that you cultivate a certain environment and culture there for sure. They wouldn't want to come back.
I hope that has something to do with it. But yeah,
absolutely. Well, ladies and gentlemen, this has been our Coach in the Cave interview with Garrett's Chris DePew, a good friend of Game Night now these last 27 years. So thank you, Coach, for coming.
Thanks for having me. It's been awesome. This is a great setup.
Thank you.
Can I come next week?
Well, we'll see.
We'll see.
We got to take care of the Barons first.
Yeah. All right.
But we'll have you back. We'll have you back for sure.
Right on.
We'll take a quick break, and we'll be back in 2 minutes. Stay tuned.
White Shoes Kelly Chevrolet. We offer a wide selection of new and used inventory with a team that guides you to your perfect fit. Our certified pre-owned options ensure peace of mind with warranties and rigorous inspections. Competitive pricing, flexible financing, and convenient trade and services, making your dream Chevrolet a reality. Trust our experienced service team to keep your vehicle in top shape, and enjoy free car washes as long as you own your vehicle.
Welcome back, everybody. Casey's showing Coach DePew out the door. What a great interview. Coach DePew is so much fun to talk football with. Would you not agree, Snake?
That guy was one of my favorites that we've had down here in the cave. Anybody that actually cuts their finger off with a circular saw, saves the finger in the freezer, whose dog might have eaten the end of his finger later, like top notch. Dude's hilarious, man. The guy's awesome. That was the craziest story I've ever heard down here.
Hey, Snake, over at Columbia City, the Eagles handed the Eagles a 42-0 loss. Wow. I don't know that we were expecting that, but it looks like Columbia City is starting off on the right foot.
They are. They're muscling through some injuries, but man, they've got good depth. You know, obviously, got a love for all the Whitley County ball. So took care of business the way they should. And I think that they're up for the challenge this Friday night as well on the road against Plymouth. Plymouth's got a heck of a quarterback, but Columbia City really setting the tone for the season, man. I was pretty pumped, and I know the boys are pumped over there as well.
Grayson Bradbury with 3 touchdowns thrown. Holy smokes, what's going on in Columbia City?
Man, yeah, Bradbury's a stud, 94+ mile an hour pitcher. So
you go away for 2 minutes and we're talking Columbia City football.
Yeah,
what the hell's happened? What happened down there?
Sorry about
we went off the rails here.
Where'd Jackson go? Did he fall under the table?
we're bailing out. But very, very exciting start. Unfortunately, I'm in a state of depression right now because we just got beat 18-12 by Summit. Hats off to the Falcons, and a great job to them. I'm going to read how to coach secondary because I apparently didn't do a very good job today.
Learning experience. We've all had them as a coach. That's
Absolutely.
For sure. All right, Jeff, let's jump into it. Jackson's back. Archie's here. The bad man, orange man, left, went upstairs, and we got Coach DePew on his way home. Thank you, Coach DePew, for coming. I thought that was a fun interview.
Oh, great guy. Great guy.
Yeah, he's been around these parts for a long time, so he's seen it all. And Jeff, I'm glad you brought up that 2016 season because that was a special Garrett team, and they were on the brink. And I totally agree with them. If they get by Concordia, they win it all that year.
Yeah. We were going to live stream that game, and they didn't have internet at the time in the press box, but it's all good.
Well, let's jump into the rag if you don't mind. And we'll just start with the first game, Bishop Lures at New Haven. Jeff, you and I are going to take this one. I'll let you start. Jackson, give us maybe 3 minutes.
By the way, love that cover, Casey. Back-to-back great covers there on game night.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
Do you want to go back to that real quick? I'm sorry, Jeff. I'm glad you brought that up. Taylor Howenstein did the design there. I thought it turned out beautiful with the faded, the blurry on the perimeter, and of course Brandon Logan. Look at him. I asked these kids to wear their girdles and stuff. Half of them do, half don't. He doesn't need a girdle. Look at his muscular legs. I mean, that's a kid I firmly believe will play in the NFL someday as a free safety.
Yeah, I even made the comment on Friday that he'll be starting sooner than later at Notre Dame.
Yeah, I think you're right, Jeff. And nice shot there of Adam Blakey and Jamarian Kolabodi. I saw Bodie yesterday when I was bringing game night out to Snyder, and his hair looked different. It's it's grown out since the photo shoot, and I almost didn't recognize him, but had a nice chat with him. And Snyder how often, and we'll get to this here in a little bit, so I don't want to get too far ahead of ourselves, but how often does Snyder football only rush for 11 yards? So they're in a foul mood for sure.
Big time.
So thank you, Jeff, for pointing that out. Player of the week this week was Kamar Nelson. I think deservedly so. There were a lot of great candidates, but that's who we decided to go with. And his numbers, when Sherwood texted me earlier in the week, 15 solo tackles. He had 12 assists too. I don't even know how that's possible. 6 TFLs, 4 sacks, a 60-yard interception return, and of course 2 TDs, including the game winner. So a full night for Mr. Nelson, and they needed every bit of it to win in overtime, 40-34. All right, Jeff, I'll let you start here. Let's talk a little bit about this matchup.
Something interesting on Kemar real quick. His cousin is Ivory Bryant, the ex-running back from Harding.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. I think Ivory might have been number 5, I believe. Don't ask me how I know that because that's about 30 years ago. I think that's New Sentinel days. But, man, what a great running back he was at Harding, wasn't he?
100%. Oh, for sure. I had to go up against him. He was a beast. Well, Casey, with Bishop Lures, I was a little bit surprised when I looked at the box score from this past Friday. I thought if you would have told me one of the teams would have 3 interceptions, I would almost think it would be Leo with their quarterback who's getting his first start going up against that great defensive backfield. But it just goes to show you the pressure that Jasper and Brock Schott were able to bring from the edge, make it really, really hard on Jace and Devin Patterson, the 2 quarterbacks for Bishop Lures. Bishop Lures, I heard, was playing without 3 offensive linemen, so that's never easy to do, especially when you're going against one of the best defensive linemen in the state. But I got to admit, I was a little bit shocked by that. We'll bring it up here. The 3 interceptions, 50% completion percentage, 10 of 20 for 85 yards. I thought Grayson Esquera did a serviceable job there for Leo. He did not. They did not have the 3 interceptions. You know how Max Preps is. It's a little wonky sometimes.
Yeah.
But yeah, I expect Lures to bounce back. Just like last year, it seems like they're going to get better week in, week out. You just wonder if it's going to be hard for the quarterbacks to really settle in if they're sharing time.
Yeah, the two-headed quarterback thing is always a question mark, I think, for any program, any coach, when you go with that out of the gate. So it'll be interesting to see if they settle here at some point. But they weren't able to quite run the ball. Daria Williams had, I think, 64 rushing yards, so he had a nice showing, but offensively, but yet they were still leading in the fourth quarter, Jeff.
Right.
And like Coach Kyle Lindsey told me, it's not very often you win a game with 4 turnovers, yet they were in a position to win a game against, one of the better teams in the area.
Yes.
And Brock shot. They credited him with 4 sacks. It sure seemed like watching the game, he had 5 or 6. He was everywhere. And my mercy, what a player he is. So I agree. Let's talk briefly, Jeff, if we could, about this matchup between Lures and New Haven. I saw Vance Shearer yesterday out at school, and I was dropping off game night. I saw the Gibson kid who had, really nice 5-touchdown performance. This kid, I don't think even played football last year. He's a senior running back. He ran hard. They had 2 guys go over 100 yards. The only way New Haven can stay in this game is they have to be able to run with some success. Don't you agree?
Oh, 100%. And I thought that might have been the most surprising game to me on the weekend, was just how efficient New Haven is. They're going to be in a lot of ball games with Simpson and Gibson sharing the load back there in the backfield. I mean, they are a throwback team right now that can just grind you out offensively, which is going to keep their defense a little bit more fresh and going to eat up clock. So I was really impressed with what Coach Shearer's squad was able to do at Northrop this past Friday.
Totally agree. All right, Jackson, why don't you give us maybe 3 or 4 minutes here as well? Let's jump out of this one and into Garrett at DeKalb. Jake, you and I will tackle this one. We just had Coach DePew down here in the cave from Garrett High School. To me, this is an absolute coin flip game. It could go either way. Great matchup. If I wasn't following the Saints this year because my son plays for Bishop Dwenger, I think this is the game I might be at, truthfully, because it's a great county rivalry game, and you know how these are. The magnitude just goes up a notch. You could hear it in Coach DePew's voice. I mean, he jokes a little bit, but there's no love lost between the Garrett Railroaders and the Cal Barons, and that's the way it should be.
Yeah, definitely. And obviously, to me, the first thing the Railroaders have to do is stop the run. Hinkle with over 200 yards last week, and I think there was over 300 yards of rushing offense in total. So you have to sell out to stop the run, and then make DeKalb start going to those skill position players like a Xavier Bell. And I think that they will. The big thing also is, Garrett that defensively is going to have to match the intensity. They call that work rate in the game, where it's like, how can, all that conditioning in the offseason, are they going to be able to run with them? I agree with you, Casey. I think that this could be a coin flip. I was completely off base last week by thinking that AC would have had the edge on the Railroaders, and they proved us wrong. And now I think
they proved you wrong.
They proved me wrong, not the Swami. he called it right. But I think this is a similar matchup this week, where if Coach DePew can get the boys fired up, it's a winnable game for the Railroaders.
Yeah, no doubt. It's going to be a fun one. It's going to be ball control, very physical, a lot of emotion, I think, on both sides. And, it's probably going to be, it's cliche. It'll come down to a turnover or 2, time of possession, all those kind of things in the big games kind of rear their ugly head. Who makes the 1 or 2 costly mistakes, I think, is the team that will end up falling. That being said, get there early, get your popcorn. I think it's going to be a lot of fun ones, or a fun one. Jeff, do you have any thoughts real quick on this one?
No, I just, Coach DePew, he talked about it, the halftime adjustments that he made last week, what he did last year against Heritage. I mean, he's a real great football mind.
Yes.
Yeah, he is. He's been around a long time. And I know, again, he hears sometimes the naysayers. Every program has it. And to me, I always tell a coach, you know what, that just means, A, you've done things right to a certain degree. for the expectations to be there, and B, you're doing something that matters, that people care. And sometimes you got to block out some of that noise. And I think he's done a good job of that. And I think Garrett football is in great hands, and he's going to leave the program at some point here in the next probably 5 to 10 years in better shape than he found it, I believe.
Agreed.
All right, let's jump out of that one, guys. Thank you. And get to the next game. Eastside at Adams Central. Jake, you and I are going to tackle this, but Jeff, I want your 2 cents real quick. Jake, this is a surprise for you. You don't know this is coming.
Oh no.
This is a gift from Coach Matt Daisy. I was up there today.
Way,
this
Coach.
is their, I'll let you hold it up. That's your size. This is
What
their Eastside puts out a shirt every year. This is going back to the Todd Mason era.
Oh, dude.
And he's like,
that's sick.
Give this to the snake. And I
That
said I would
is
be
sick.
honored to do so. So
Very nice.
very cool. Thank you, Coach. And then Jeff, I don't know if you've got the flyer queued up by chance that I sent you earlier. If not, I can read it. As everybody knows, Carson Days graduated a couple years ago, was involved in a motorcycle accident last week.
Yes.
And he's, fighting for his life right now. My understanding is he's able to move his extremities, so that's a good sign. But it's a long road ahead, and so want to make sure that if you're watching it and you're the praying type, please pray for Carson and his family, because they need it. And this is a scary time. And of course, with Lane passing a year ago, the Eastside football family has just been hammered by a couple tragedies here in recent years. So prayers for all of them, and had a great conversation with Coach Daisy, assistant coach up there for the Blazers. And, you can't help but want to pull for all of them to just keep grinding and get through all this. So there's a shot of it. Jeff, thanks for putting that up. Folks, if you have an opportunity to donate towards this, I know it would mean a lot to that community and certainly to the family. So thank you, Jeff. Let's talk a little football. Eastside, 25-11 winner last week against Woodland. They really got off to a slow start and did not look good. And I think Coach attributed a lot of it to the news that just came out about Carson's accident. Yeah. A lot of these kids have, played with him, have ties to him for a variety of reasons. And so they were playing with heavy hearts, but they found a way and they really put a nice performance together. Now they're going up against an Adams Central team that is, not accustomed to being 0-1. Let's face it. I mean, this is a team that's been running the table during the regular season the last few years. And this is going to be a great matchup, I think, on paper, as far as two really talented, well-coached programs in Northeast Indiana that I don't think get the credit that they deserve. Eastside and Adams Central have done things the right way. And this is going to be another really fun matchup. Jake, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, these are two teams, like you've said before, they don't rebuild, they just reload. And to come out on top 25-11 in that game is very, very good for the Blazers. One thing you have to say about both of these teams, I mean, these are elite level high school coaching staffs. When you look at both sides of it, you've got guys that have coached at both these schools for long periods of time. You got Coach Mason coming back to Eastside now, which is huge. Obviously, Coach Daisy. And you look at these teams, Coach DePew kind of hit it on the head. AC is doing some things a little different. They're mixing up their offensive looks a little bit. I think that can be a key component to them. But man, Eastside has always found a way to have good quarterback play. They've always been able to run very solid quarterback power read plays. I think this game could go either way, man. I think realistically, they both got playmakers. They're both going to fly to the football. When you have two teams that are as well coached as this, it's a coin flip to me. Yeah,
Lincoln Carter, last year rushed for nearly 1,500 yards as a sophomore running back. He's kind of their quarterback this year. And that seems to be the MO up there at Eastside. They put their best athlete and turn him into a quarterback. Oh, and by the way, he was 5 of 6 passing. And he was a little hobbled. And Coach told me they put him in the game after the starter got dinged up because he was not playing. They weren't planning on playing him. They put him in, and they basically, in a roundabout way, said, okay, don't run the ball because he's not 100%. And I think the very first play, he scrambled and took off, and they're all like, oh, my gosh, Lincoln. Well, you know what? he's a running back by nature. And I think once he gets going, and my understanding is he's healthy this week, he's healing up nicely. He's going to be very formidable, running the ball and passing the ball. And they've got some nice weapons there. But it kind of reminds me of a guy that was down here a few years ago, Jeff, for the very first ever Around the Fort.
Maybe Laban Davis.
Mr. Laban
Yeah,
Davis.
100%.
Yeah. So that's a neat subplot to keep an eye on there for Eastside. And Jeff, do you have any more thoughts about this matchup?
Eastside brings a tough defense. You know, you hold a veteran like Drew Fleek to just 2.9 yards per carry. Woodland as a team rushed for 2.3, and they held them for under 100 yards rushing. So that's impressive. This will be a good one. And with Coach Brandewy there, Eastside is really not taking a step back at all.
I agree. Coach has done a nice job. And then, like you said, Jake, getting Todd Mason back into the fold. What a pickup there. So
I think the one last thing, Casey, I think that a compliment that you probably would take under advisement a little bit, this is a very, very big compliment that other coaches in the NECC have said, is that no matter who is in the quarterback position for Eastside, they run the best play fake of any team around. And it seems so minuscule just running a play fake. But when you can take away, when you've got 1/11th on defense that you just took away, that you can freeze a backer or a corner or a safety anytime you're running that zone read or any of those types of packages,
RPO stuff.
It's you know, the Busco coaches talk about it. They're like, it doesn't matter who's back there. They could put a 4-string water boy at quarterback, and we think we've got it coached down, and we think we've got our key points, and they were going to pull the ball at the last second and run, and we can't stop them. And it was like that with Laban and every quarterback, and
because they rep it and rep it.
Yes,
and
they're
rep
so
it,
good
and
at
it's
it.
all
That
about
disguise,
timing.
man.
Yeah, you're so right, Jake. That's a great point. All right, guys, let's discuss the next game here. I think this is a fantastic matchup.
Game of the week.
Northrop at Huntington North, a game night, first time ever being at Huntington North. I was out there last night, took a picture, that gorgeous sunset. What a beautiful stadium. Their gates and that entrance, holy mackerel. I've driven by it a million times, but you don't appreciate it until you're on the grounds. Yes. And it's really well done. Coach Eschbach, nice win last week over Eastbrook, I believe, by 17 points or thereabouts. And then Northrop, of course, 53 points and all the weapons they have there. Speaking of New Haven, Coach Shear said, Casey, we couldn't cover them. And he goes, it's not like we don't have guys in our secondary, you know, with Hoffer and Gibson and some of these other guys. We've got some players back there. He goes, we couldn't cover them. So this is a nightmare matchup, I believe, for Huntington North with their secondary. But conversely, Northrop gave up some big chunks of yardage in the ground game. And if Huntington North, the Decker kid, the quarterback, had almost 400 yards passing and rushing, if he can, you know, run with some success and they can maybe shorten the game a little bit, anything is possible. Jeff, I'll let you start. All three of us can talk about this matchup, but I think it's a great one.
Oh, I'd agree. And like Northrop just, I don't want to say shocked everybody, but holy cow, for Callison to come out and set a school record with the 5 touchdowns. And we're going to hear more about the sophomore Jamari Brown, the wide receiver, a little bit later. But boy, he is as advertised. One of the most electric plays that I've seen was his punt return for a touchdown. And, you know, Jaquadian Guilford, he is number 2 in the state for the class of 2026. And obviously he was great, but who you have right here, Gabe Lewis, also had a fantastic game. So between
on both sides of the ball. Yeah, he's a two-way guy.
Yeah, between those 3 guys, along with the freshman here, Maddox, who had 2 receptions for 61 yards and a touchdown. Man, I'm telling you, I think these guys are going to be in a lot of games, even in the big division of the SAC.
Yeah, and if that defense ever shores up, watch out. They could be scary good by the end of the year because they're going to score points and they're going to hit some home runs, no doubt about it. Jake, before I turn it over to you, I want you guys to know, as I was driving west on 24 last night, the first street that you see coming into town, do you know what it's called?
What is it?
Guilford Street.
Ooh.
I'm just saying.
Okay.
I'm just saying, as Quay's coming in on the bus tomorrow, if he was smart, he'd be like, this is my town. Right. So if Quay has a monster game tomorrow, that's why the Swami predicted. What are your thoughts here, Jake?
Hey, I got to keep myself from talking for 3 hours about this game. This is my favorite matchup of the week. And if you are a high school football fan that wants to see college-style offense, go down and check this game out, because you are looking at two wide open spread concept offenses. They may as well just take the defenses off the field. We don't need them. Let's just kick the ball, punt the ball if we have to, and we're just going. You're going to see 4 and 5 wide receiver combinations. You're going to see a little bit of inside zone running action, but just like Jeff just said, when you got 4 receivers on the field with Guilford, Brown, Lewis, and Weil, this is all 4 of these receivers could start at most other schools. This is the deepest wide receiver class in Northeast Indiana, period. And they got a quarterback that's just slinging the rock. So I hope he talks his talk, and I hope that he comes out again with a second back-to-back week and just throws the ball all over the field. I hope this is a high-scoring game. I hope it's over 100 points between the two.
I do too. I think it's going to be just a shootout and a really fun night out at Huntington North. And again, if you're in that community, get out and grab a copy of Game Night, support your Vikings, because Coach Eschbach wants this program to turn the corner. And I believe right now what we're seeing with Northrop, the Bruins are turning a corner.
One last thing, Casey. Huntington North had a lot of turnovers in this game. They got to fix the fumbles. They're not going to want to turn the ball over and put it in a bunch of playmakers' hands, and that could be a key to that game.
No doubt. All right, let's get into the hot ticket this week. I mean, after talking that game up, I'm wondering if Game Night picked the wrong game. I don't think so. I still think East Noble at Snyder is the featured matchup in our area this week. The Knights, of course, coming off an impressive 42-6 win. They were down 6-0 against Bremen going into the second quarter, and then just blew the doors off the Lions. And of course, we already talked a little bit at the top about Snyder. Shutout, lost to Warren Central 15-0, and totally dominated by that talented Warren Central defense. 11 rushing yards. I just can't get over that stat, Jeff. What are your thoughts here?
Yeah, I mean, my thoughts are that defensive line. Remember last week, Jake said they're probably the best in the country. Yeah, that's probably about right, because it was 1,000, get rid of the ball. So there was really very little opportunities for Davis to pick up positive yardage in that one. And, Aaron Vance looked very, very impressive at QB as far as what he was able to accomplish. He did a great job with the read option and making things very deceiving on the defense. But Casey, I mean, they go 6'4", 240 pounds, about 4 different defensive linemen, and they keep rotating these guys in, does Warren Central, and the production doesn't slow down at all. So I think Snyder's defense is really, really good, probably the best in Northeast Indiana. And they, held Warren Central scoreless in the first half. And I think their offense is going to pick it up, and it'll start this week.
I agree. And they're like the Swami said, the guarantee, the dead cold, stone cold lock of the week is Snyder will rush for more than 11 yards this week. You can take that to the bank. They're going to try to, I think, get that ground game going. Because that's, the staple of Snyder football. It's tailback high for a reason. They're going to want to try to establish the ground game. But they also, you mentioned Vance. I mean, talk about baptism by fire, your first start against that defensive front. And I agree with you, Jeff. I thought he acquitted himself well. I think he'll have a nice game here and he'll settle in. But on the other side, East Noble, new coach Alex Stewart, trying to keep everything, the continuity there that Coach Luke Amstutz established, and then before him, Coach DePew, who was here tonight in the cave. East Noble football has been so good, and they are again this year. But matchup wise, I agree with you, Jeff. This is the best defense in the area. This is the best defense I believe they'll see all year, maybe even including Leo. We'll see how that develops. So going down to Spohler Stadium, the East Noble Knights, a good start would go a long way, just hanging around. They can't give up a kickoff return to start the game or a pick six or anything like that. They need to kind of hang around so they can believe. And they did that to a certain degree last year in this matchup. Mm-hmm. And I believe they lost by like 17, 18 points. It was a pretty competitive game. But they're also going up against a Snyder team this year that is fuming mad. I mean, Snyder, I'm sure, had an interesting week of practice knowing those coaches, and I'm sure they have their attention. And there's no way in heck they want to go 0-2. So I look for Snyder to be the better team here and to assert itself with its ground game and definitely get Davis going, running the ball, and maybe even some option with Vance. And then that defense is just phenomenal.
Yeah, I think these are two teams that Jeff's done a great job of getting in-depth on and covering over the last couple of years. And to me, it feels like Snyder's first item of business has to be to shut down Jeff's guy, Dylan Carell. And he's a lunch pail running back. He's a hard runner. And I think then you've got to, with Logan over the top, I think that East Noble's going to have to get the ball outside. One good thing they've got working for them with that H-back style spread offense, they do mix up a lot of jet and orbit motion. So if they can flush the ball outside quickly, get the quick game going in the screen, make some guys miss, I think this could be a pretty competitive matchup. But I agree. Snyder going against that nasty Dub C defensive line, which as soon as that game was over, another one of their D linemen got an offer from Purdue. So Snyder is going to be fired up. They're going to have a lot of billboard material to just go down there and get after it. I think that this would be a very competitive game, but I think Snyder has the edge.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, you bring up a good point, Snake, with the jet sweep and thing, but Snyder is so quick off the edge.
Yes.
That sometimes they can roll up 3-4, linemen, and it doesn't matter with a guy like Adam Blakey, who's so long and so deceptively quick. It's hard sometimes to get outside those guys.
Jeff, real quick. Sorry, go ahead, Jeff.
Well, I was going to say, Casey, in that Warren Central game, their running back broke free, and Adam Blakey caught him from behind. That's
Wow.
a
Is that the picture right there, Jeff, on the center spread?
Yes.
Is that
that's
it?
the picture. Yep.
Yeah, you're right, Jeff. And yeah, he is so fast. And really, we talked a little bit about their defense, Jeff. It was really 2 plays that Warren Central had.
Yeah,
a
the
long
big
pass play and a long running play. Other than that, Snyder's defense was dynamite. This could have been 0-0 and an overtime finish very easily.
Yeah, and speaking of their defense, the sophomore who wears number 4, his name escapes me for the second. I'm going to get it. Yes, for Teal. Casey,
Yeah.
he's next. He's the real deal.
No, he is the real deal. His dad, I believe, played for the Fort Wayne Freedom. I have his jersey.
Oh, very cool.
Is that Alf's son?
I think it's Alf's son.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I could be wrong. I don't know, but I might, I might be selling that jersey at some point here. It might be an auction at some point.
Alf Fertil was a part of the very first St. Francis team in '98 and was an All-American defensive tackle for head coach Kevin Donnelly. He's from Florida originally. Yeah,
good call out. Okay. All right, let's get out of the hot ticket. One more game to dissect here. South Adams at Belmont. This is, Belmont, man, 23 losses in a row. I know we can't help but just pull for Coach Hall. We, not necessarily pulling, rooting against South Adams, but I want to see Belmont find a way to get that elusive dub and change some of that, mojo down there in Decatur. And then South Adams last week, I think, got surprised a little bit at Indy Wesleyan against Tipton 27-20. They scored all their points in the end, but it was too little too late for the Starfires. But they scored 20 points, I believe, in the fourth quarter. So they're going to come around for sure. Coach Moser does a great job. Jake, thoughts?
Yeah, man, I feel bad for the Braves because you look at the schedule and I think they really need a win this week to try to spark this season up. I'd made a comment last week about not letting the game get too far away from them. I think that it did.
Mm-hmm.
But there's one thing to note. Belmont actually outsizes South Adams in size and weight in some key positions. Can they use that to their advantage? I think if they can't get
tight splits,
if they can't get the win this week, you look at their schedule and man, it's going to be tough sledding for Belmont. So this has got to be the game for them.
Yeah, I agree. And you, again, if you're a Belmont backer, you just want to see the Braves come out and fight. Yes. And I think that's where Coach Hall is right now. He knows that they're undermanned. We talked last week about that freshman class, having good numbers for the first time since 2009. They actually have a freshman schedule. So the future, I do believe, is bright for Belmont football. It may not be this year in terms of wins and losses, but Coach Hall's still laying the foundation, building blocks. Yes. 1 week, one practice, one rep at a time. Jeff, your thoughts?
My thoughts are, Heritage picked up right where they left off. And I really believe that Heritage is actually that good as well with Eli Tagulis. It does a great job throwing the long ball and connected with Braden Walter 2 times for 128 yards. So hopefully Belmont's going to be okay, because I think Heritage is really good in the ACAC.
Yeah, I agree. So that score last week may be a little bit misleading. We'll know here in a few more weeks. I'm with you, Jeff. I think Heritage is a really good team. They moved up one spot on the Swami scale from 10th to 9th this week. I think that's a very talented squad. So, all right, next page here, the senior spotlight, some fun highlights here. Some of these kids. I love the picture of the Moore twins from Huntington North.
Nice.
And again, bringing out game night this week, they got a little extra love. That's pretty cool for the Moore family. Those kids were great at the photo shoot, very engaging, polite, and they were funny. So it was a lot of fun. There's a Tristan Newsom. I know you highlight him, Jake, on the Snake page. We'll get to first in a second. And Jeff, I know you're close to the Northside program as well. If you want to comment on any of those.
Tristan Newsom, holy cow, what a performance that he had at Northridge. Over 300 total yards of offense.
Incredible.
Coach Johnson said that he's the school record holder in the 100-meter dash. So it's certainly shown in their first performance right there. I mean, Northside is somebody to really watch out for.
Yeah, not bad for a kid who hadn't played quarterback in a few years. Right?
Oh, so productive.
Well, he's such a good athlete. And again, when we get to the Snake page here in a moment, Jake kind of alludes to the fact that he's a football player. He's an athlete, and he's not probably a quarterback at the next level.
Right.
But he's something at the next level, and a great kid, very, very engaging, fun. I love Tristan Newsom. I want to see him get an opportunity to play at the next level. Speaking of the Snake page, let's flip one, if you wouldn't mind, Jeff, and we'll let Jake take it from here. Jake, this was another fun feature I know you had this week, and take it away.
Yeah, when just talking about, I love offense, I love spread offense, and when you're looking at Northrop this year, they've got it. And obviously, Quay Guilford getting a lot of looks. He needs no introduction, offered by a lot of teams. But right beside, I don't want to say behind, I want to say beside him is Jamari Brown. This guy's solid, man. He's about 5'11", 175. He's got a handful of MAC level offers right now, and I think they're going to keep stacking up. And that's in the very end of my article there. Lane Kiffin's Ole Miss, and I made some comments about how much I love this offensive style of spread football with multiple receiver sets. That's going to bode him well at a team like Ole Miss at the next level. He's great. He's a multifaceted player. You love the athletes that are going to go out and take a kicker punt return. You love guys that are willing to go in the slot. But, man, he's got wheels. I think you can play him in a lot of different positions. Yeah, they're probably going to put Quay in more the X position to start and have him lined up in different formations and alignments in the wide receiver position. But this guy could be an X receiver on a lot of teams. Yeah, some guys may be a little bit more in that 6'2", 6'3" range where you got him out there, but he can high point balls. He's fast. He's quick
long.
Twitch. He's very long, well-spoken kid. Loved talking to him on X the other day. He has all the tools that you want, and he's very sellable as a wide receiver. Like, he's going to be able to speak well to these coaches. Just a great kid at the position.
And correct me if I'm wrong, guys. He did have the punt return.
He did punt return touchdown
for a touchdown, right? That may have been the play of the game. Truthfully, yes. I mean, if without it, they don't get it done. Maybe
totally, and that's the thing that I talk about so much is field vision. When you have guys like that can take punt return in a tight split, and then look at when you're going and looking upfield in a punt return situation and you're looking for your guys, the back of their numbers, they're turned in, and he takes it straight up the field, and then he's one cut gone. And man, you can't beat that.
Yeah, I agree with you, Jake. I really enjoyed getting to know him a little bit at the photo shoot. He was super polite and funny, and you could tell he was really enjoying himself, with the pictures and everything. So bright future for that young man. That was a great call out by you. Jeff, your thoughts on this before we talk about the two guys at the bottom?
No, I was just going to say this collection of three guys right here might be three of the most athletic guys in Northeast Indiana.
Agreed. I agree. That's a good call out for sure. Speaking of Davion Surrey out at Bishop Luers, I mean, is he underappreciated right now, you think, in terms of looks?
I think he is. He's going to get his name out there a little bit more. And the thing with all this is that the more and more I learn about this and talk to some of these coaches and these recruiting guys, it's just about, getting your name out there at some of the camps, getting reps in front of the right people. I think this is a guy that, as he continues here this season, he's definitely undervalued. I like him more at the cornerback position or a defensive back position than wide receiver, but he can contribute on both sides of the ball. And then you start seeing that the offers are going to start coming in for him.
For sure. And then maybe just recap the page with some more discussion on Tristan Newsome. I really believe not only because of his speed and his football ability, but the kind of person he is. He's such a good kid, and he's a good student. He works hard. He's going to be a great teammate. That's the kind of kid, if I'm a coach here locally, trying St. Francis, wherever, I'm doing everything I can. He's already got an offer, I believe, to Mount Union.
Mount Union, yeah. He's offered there. And it's just one of those things where the best way of saying it sounds very lame, but it's just straight to the point. The kid's a football player. You want him to go kick a PAT, he can probably do it. You can line him up at receiver. You can put him at running. And that's a great thing for Coach BJ. I had nothing but good things to say about him and the type of player that he is. Like Jeff had alluded to earlier, he's got a track record for Northside. Like, you look at a kid like that, and he's going to get those offers. Somebody like Coach Abs or one of these guys is going to come down and say, man, this guy can just compete and contribute, and he's going to get himself on the field.
Yeah,
he's a great player.
He checks a lot of boxes.
I will say, though, a Mount Union offer, that's huge. I mean, that's the pinnacle of Division III football, Mount Union.
For sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah, for sure. And it's close to home, so it's a great option for him. But I do agree with both of you. I think he'll get some more offers here yet this year as a senior, because he's just too good of a football player not to.
Real quick, for any of you players that are listening right now, that right there is a program guy. He's going to do what's best for his team to help his team win. He's looking out, we over me. Great kid.
And that's what makes him so coveted, I think, at the next level.
Agreed.
For sure. All right, let's maybe jump into the leaders board, if you don't mind, Jeff, and just do, maybe a quick shout out here. I want to make sure Coach Bennett sent me a text. Chip Bennett, probably related to his head coach, had 156 yards passing. He's not on the list. I got to get with my designer who compiles the list, not to pass the buck. That's on me, but we'll try to get that updated. Coach, if you're watching tonight, our apologies for that. Thank you for reading Game Night. But there's some good looking dudes on these 4 lists here. And one, Caleb, is it Kingley or
Kingley.
I want to make a proposal here, Jeff, and I know you're close to Caleb. Why don't we change his name to Kinjali? And it could be like a Christmas story, like Fragile, right? It must be Italian. I can't help but think that will make things easier for everybody. But you called it out last week, Jeff, that you thought he was going to have a big game, and boy, did he.
Yeah, he sure did. And, like Coach said, he kept getting stronger and stronger as the game goes on. I mean, this past summer at a 7-on-7 tournament at East Noble, anytime Caleb wasn't in the game, he was on the sideline playing catch with somebody, picking out some teammates to throw the ball with. He's constantly working, and he does not look like a sophomore. If you look at his arms, he looks like a chiseled senior, and he's only a sophomore. So one interesting thing to keep an eye out for, you guys, when the class of 2027 really comes out on 247 Sports, Northside could easily, this is not even exaggerating, have 3 guys on that list with Malik Moore, Caleb Kingley, and Leslie Woodson.
Wow.
That's pretty impressive. Yeah, some good young talent over there for sure for the Legends. Just a quick shout out, Jake, before I turn it over to you to talk a little bit about this. Coaches, if you're watching this, if you are not submitting your stats on a timely basis to Max Preps, that's where a lot of this has come. It's impossible to put lists like this together. I mean, with 36 different schools sending 36 different stat programs, it's just not going to happen. So we use Max Preps almost exclusively to compile these lists, and we really need those stats in on the weekend, not on Tuesday or Wednesday, because guess what? Game night is printing usually on Tuesday or Wednesday. So please, and if you can't do that, send the stats to me directly and point out, hey, I think this is a kid on your leaders board, so I can forward it to my designer and we can get that correct in game night.
Yeah, and Casey, I was going to say, ultimately, if each coach or somebody that they trust on the team can just email you those stats, because sometimes the transition from huddle stats to Max Preps or whatever
Yep.
the software is, the max preps, doesn't always translate the right way, as we've seen with, the 3 interceptions with Leo, and then only
Yes.
2 receivers having touchdowns for Northrop.
Yeah, and Leo is breaking in a new stat program, and they were having some issues this past weekend. I think they got it rectified. But yes, to your point, Jeff, and if they along those lines, especially if they've got somebody that they know should be in the, at least considered for the top 10 for these categories, these 5 categories, sacks and interceptions being part of it. Say, hey, this kid, spell it out for us a little bit, so we're not going through with a fine-tooth comb. It's like a needle in a haystack sometimes. There's bound to be errors when you compile lists like this. Just, it's not intentional. So the more cooperation and help that we can get from the coaches and the statisticians every weekend, the more accurate these leaders are going to be. And quick shout out to Mike Barber, of course, our friend from Leo, for being a sponsor of this page this year. With Bob Thomas Ford. Jake, any thoughts on some of these guys on this leaderboard?
Leo Lion Remix Twitter, man. Mike's been at it for a long time.
He loves his high school football.
Yeah, speaking of Leo, man, what impresses me a lot about this list is when you start going down through it and you see a lot of guys who are highly touted, already offered, some already committed, and they're still going 2 ways, contributing on special
Balls
teams,
to the
just
wall,
getting
week
nasty.
1. Yeah.
And Brock Schott doing his thing.
Stratton Fuller.
You just go down that list, and there are some fantastic names that we've been looking at here the last couple of years, and a lot of these seniors that are they're making that one last glory march, trying to get down to the Dome for the state finals game. And I think Leo's a team to watch. I love seeing Katie.
Did he say down to the Dome? Like the Hoosier Dome, or where?
It's Lucas Oil now,
Oh,
but
sorry.
it's still the Hoosier Dome to me.
It's
man.
always been the Dome.
But no, it's great to see all these dudes up here. There's a lot of great names, a lot of senior laden talent that are on these lists, and it's just great to see where a lot of these players could just take the time off and say, "Hey, I'm only going to run one way, and I'm going to save this for college." It's like, no, these guys are battling it out.
I love it.
And I think Brock Schott wants the state sack record by a long shot, and he's just going to keep killing it on defensive end.
Yeah, you're not kidding. And Kamar Nelson, 4 sacks
Oh
last
my
week as well.
gosh, what a
Landon Fry, a baseball commit
Yes,
to IU, 2
exactly.
interceptions. Again, not mailing it in, playing for the love of the game. And I'm with you, Jake. I think it's fantastic. Jeff, you already talked about Braden Walter. Neat to see him at the top of the list. Only 2 catches, but they were meaningful. 128 yards, 2 TDs. Are you sneezing? Was that a sneeze?
Yeah.
God bless you.
Yeah, I just couldn't get it out. But Landon Fry, Casey, looks like a Division I football player out there. He really does. He is a Division I baseball player committed to IU.
He's just it's very cliche, but he's always around the ball. He makes plays. He's just one of those kids that is a baller. He's a gamer. And I think IU's getting a heck of a baseball player, but I'm with you. I mean, if he wanted to go that route, he probably could have. And another one of those very likable, engaging kids that you can't help but root for. All right, thanks. Let's get out of that. And maybe we'll take a short break here and gather ourselves. I have to use the restroom because I've had too much coffee today. And we'll be back in maybe 2 minutes. Stay tuned, everybody.
White Shoes Kelly Chevrolet. We offer a wide selection of new and used inventory with a team that guides you to your perfect fit. Our certified pre-owned options ensure peace of mind with warranties and rigorous inspections. Competitive pricing, flexible financing, and convenient trade and services, making your dream Chevrolet a reality. Trust our experienced service team to keep your vehicle in top shape and enjoy free car washes as long as you own your vehicle.
Holy smokes, guys. It's just me here while Casey and Jake get back to their positions. But yeah, we'll start off taking a little bit of a look here at the Swami scale. Has Leo number 1, Snyder number 2, Carroll number 3, East Noble in at number 4, Wayne in at number 5, Northside at 6, Homestead at 7, Lures at 8, Heritage at 9, and Northrop at 10. Boy, just looking at that one, Snake, I personally feel like Northside should probably be a little bit higher. I honestly believe that they can compete for the SAC title this year and for the next 3 years. But that's a good list, and love seeing Northrop in there at number 10.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of seeing Northrop in there, and you've been singing Northside's praises, and I tell you that was a very, very good win at Northridge to definitely put them up there. I think some things will shake out here over the next couple of weeks. Yeah, Wayne definitely having some speed. Carroll and Snyder both in there. It's a matter of time till they get rolling. I love seeing the out of conference games the first couple of weeks and seeing these guys go take on some big powerhouses. The Warren Centrals, Hamilton Southeasterns, and it's just getting them keyed up and ready for Brownsburg. Yeah, keyed up for big runs.
That was a rough one. I don't know if you saw the Swamis column, but tonight, if you need a good giggle, check out that. There was
I did see that one.
Did you read it, Jeff?
Yeah, the hecklers got you, Swami.
You got the heckler. Yeah, the hecklers came over. I'm like, no, we're not going to do this, guys. Not disrespecting our Saints. I don't care.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Whatever. You know what? Kids being kids. And to their credit, they didn't say a word for 2 or 3 minutes and they left. So it didn't escalate. But whatever. The Saints have their work cut out for them again. They got Moeller, powerful Cincy Moeller coming to town, which is pretty cool. I hope they put forth a little better effort, but they're not going to match up real well, especially in the trenches and in the speed department. But we'll see. It's a proud program, and they're going to roll their sleeves up and fight tomorrow night like everybody else here locally. You guys were talking about the Swami scale. Anything jump out there? Any of those teams you disagree with? I always love your input. The top 10 there, Jeff?
Well, I love Northrop being in there, and I was just telling Snake, I think Northside you could definitely put in the top 4. So jump them ahead of East Noble and group them with Snyder and Carroll and Leo. I would just probably push Leo down a little bit too. Snyder, okay. Carroll, Northside maybe is what I like.
Okay. Snake, any thoughts on the top 10?
No, I think I'm with Jeff. Northside could creep up there a little bit. I'd like to see, the next couple weeks things start shaking out once we get more into conference. Carroll and Snyder being up there makes sense. I do like Leo being at 1. I think that was a spirited effort. Great, probably coolest, highfalutin game of the week last week, just with how it ended.
Well, and they were mentally tough.
Yes.
They could have folded, and they found a way to win that game. And I think that's a testament to the coaching staff and that senior class, guys like Brock Schott and Landon Hepner.
Sure.
And so great win for the Leo Lions on the road. All right, let's why don't we discuss the featured matchups, and then maybe we'll pull out a few games in the undercard like last week, if that's okay with you. Jeff, I'm going to come to you first. Bishop Lures at New Haven. Another intriguing intra-game night matchup between the SAC and the Northeast 8. Swami says Lures by 21. Too much? Not enough?
Way too much. I'm not going to get burned by Lures again this week. I mean, those 2 running backs are so legit. The offensive line even looked like they were able to kind of handle Northrop's defensive line. What we do know right now is Lures is banged up a little bit in the trenches. I did not see Dwayne Eskridge on any of the stats, but I do know Lures entered that game with some O linemen banged up. So
D linemen. Yep.
Yeah, I definitely like New Haven to stay within 21.
Okay, I'm seeing like a 35-14, 38-17, something like that. What are your thoughts here, Jake?
I feel like it could be a little bit closer. I mean, maybe more in the 14-17 range, but I do think Lures gets to win. Okay, well, it'll be interesting to see if Bishop Lures offensively, especially, plays with a little more efficiency, because let's face it, I don't think New Haven's defense is as good as Leo's defense. So that's where I think maybe Lures make some headway tomorrow night. All right, next one, guys. I'll come to you first, Jake. Garrett at DeKalb. Again, I believe this is a coin flip game. Coach DePew on the way out gave me grief for the Swami picking against his Railroaders. And I said, well, Coach, don't the coaches usually like that for motivation or whatever? He said, no, not after last week. You picked us to win. I was like, okay, that's a good point. That's some good rationale there, Coach. So Swami says DeKalb by 3. Thoughts? Man, I think I got to go with Garrett here, even if it's just by a point. We just had Coach down here in the steakhouse he was talking about. It's called Shorty's Steakhouse, I believe. He's got some great spots down there in Garrett. Railroaders get it done.
You just angled yourself for like a blue cheese upgrade or something.
I'm with
Didn't
it.
you?
I'm with it.
I see how you work. How about you, Jeff? What are your thoughts here?
I think this is going to be about as good as this matchup has been in a long time. DeKalb has owned it the last 2 years, really handing it to Garrett by more than 3 touchdowns. Garrett's last win came in 2021. That was 28-7. I think this is going to be about the closest matchup that these two schools have had, in years.
I agree. Who are you going with?
I'm going with Garrett.
Okay, you guys both have Garrett. Swami's got DeKalb by 3 at home. I think we all agree this is a really compelling matchup, and probably will come down to the fourth quarter. East Side at Adams Central. Again, heavy hearts for the East Side community. Want to reiterate that we're praying for Carson Day's in his recovery and his family and the entire community. It's just tragedy has befallen East Side, the folks up in Butler once again, and we have heavy hearts praying for them for sure. But they have to travel down to Monroe to face the 0-1 Adams Central Flying Jets. Seems really weird to say that, doesn't it, Jeff? Swami says East Side by 4. Your thoughts?
I think you're right on this one. I think East Side keeps the ball rolling. Adams Central, I mean, they just keep reloading every single year. They got great players there, but it might take some time to get some continuity with the new wrinkles that Coach Mosier wants to throw in there.
Yeah, the idea of them going 4 wide is mind-boggling, isn't it? But that young quarterback, the sophomore Jamison Roach, I know they're really high on him. He throws a really nice ball, and it's kind of where they're at right now. And when you're at a small program, even though they do reload and not so much rebuild, there are some years you got to modify what you want to do offensively, and I think that's what we're seeing down there.
And especially when you're suffering those losses to a school like Indy Lutheran that can light up the scoreboard.
Yeah, and do so much more offensively than you can do. Good point. Jake, your thoughts here is 4 points in favor of Eastside about right, or you think AC gets it done?
Are you kidding? I've got 2 reasons right now of why Eastside wins this game by more than probably 4. I'm going to say let's go with 7 or more. You can't go against somebody when a coach sends you a T-shirt down to the cave. So thanks to Coach Daisy for that. And the reason they might win is because of the great communication they have from Procom headsets.
Great
Coach,
got
you, brother. Got you. Thank you.
Great
Eastside wins it by 7.
Yeah, and coaches, if you're watching and you need headsets, Procom is the way to go. Get connected with Matt Daisy out of the Eastside because they're the best in the business. All right, Northrop at Huntington North. Man, we were all just groveling about this matchup a few minutes ago, and I'm so excited about it. I think Northrop probably has to be a prohibitive favorite here because of all those weapons. But, man, there's just something about that magical sunset down in Huntington. Swami's got an upset special, the Vikings by 1. Snake, can it happen?
So, I said that the Swami was having a couple too many margaritas last week with the Garrett, and then that worked out. I got Northrop by 17, boys. They're going to just wide open. It is going to be touchdown after touchdown. Sorry, Vikings, I love you guys, but this is just 2x2 wide receiver spread, 50+ points aside. It's over. 17 points.
There you have it. Jeff, your thoughts?
Yeah, Casey, Northrop knows sunsets, okay? The Northrop bleachers face west. So this time of year, the Northrop fans and anybody in that press box, they know the sunset. I agree. It's just going to be way too much speed and quickness on the turf for Huntington North. But a huge shout out to the Vikings. They did do it right with their baseball, softball, and football stadiums.
Yeah, for sure. The facilities are beautiful down there, and that football entrance is really something to behold. So it's going to be a fun atmosphere. I'm hoping for at least a close battle. And again, I think if Huntington North can shorten the game and not turn the ball over and finish some drives running the ball, they've got a shot. And but I don't know how you stop that Northrop offense right now. You've got to have, I don't know, 2, maybe, drop guys in coverage, rush 1 or 2. I mean, I think you're to that point now, even though it's early in the season, where they've shown enough in such a short time with those weapons. You've got to kind of throw the kitchen sink at them defensively. So I wouldn't be surprised at all if they pull out all kinds of stops defensively and really force them to run the ball with legend Raylu, who's a really capable running back. But that's not what they want to do. Make no mistake, with those weapons. And I don't blame Coach Q. I'd be throwing it all over the ball field myself. All right, guys, that's going to be a fun one. The hot ticket, East Noble at Snyder. Swami says Snyder by 17. Jeff, I'll come to you.
Yep, that's exactly what I was thinking going into this one too. Snyder still is they're in 6A right now, but they are a 5A school playing a 4A school. Once again, depth works in favor of Snyder in this one, but yeah, they're going to get on track. Going up against that Warren Central defense doesn't happen very often.
Yeah, I think East Noble will do some nice things. I just don't know if they can score enough points to hang around here. So I think it's like a, 27-10 type game, 31-14, somewhere in there. What are your thoughts, Jake?
Yeah, I love the spread at 17. Agree, Snyder with the win. But this right here is a prime example of a perfect type of game for East Noble to go out and compete. That's going to help them for a stretch run in the NE8, hopefully, other than the week they play the Eagles.
That's right. Love the Beagles. The Eagles. Sorry. All right, maybe a couple games each, guys, on the undercard. I'll let you take it for. Are there one or two in there that you want to discuss? Speaking of those Eagles.
Oh, let's just give this a quick. Oh man, just this bottom. Lakeland at Busco. Lakeland by 25. Goodness gracious.
Too much? Not enough? What?
I think that I think Busco stays in this game. I think maybe Lakeland by 7.
The other Eagles, and
maybe I didn't do such a good job, but I love them Eagles, man. Whitley County football for life. I'll still give Lakeland the edge, but maybe let's go by 10. Who else do we got? Oh, I got to call the Columbia City at Plymouth game here. Eagles did look strong. We got CC by 22. Those are rookie numbers. Let's bump that up to. Let's go up to 26 with that. I think the Eagles get rolling.
4 points. Okay. All right, step out of Whitley County for a second and give us one other game. Is there anything else that's compelling?
There's a good one there. Concordia at Eastbrook. Man, I think Concordia. I think Concordia can get a little bit more than that. I'm going to go Concordia. Let's go Concordia by 10.
Game night team of the week. The Swami delivered a stack of pizzas from B. Antonio's last night to the Cadets. Very well deserved after an 0-10 season. Pretty neat to see them get off the snide and beat a team that beat them last year by 28 points. That's not a bad way to kick off your season. Jeff, what are 2 or 3 games you want to discuss there on the undercard?
I really like the Heritage at Fairfield game. These are 2 teams that are coming off high scoring outputs. Fairfield beat Goshen 55-17. Heritage with the big win over Belmont. So I really like that game right there. Carroll at Center Grove. With Jimmy Sullivan's on your leaderboard with 100 yards rushing. So I know that that's not something that Carroll really wants to rely on. 14 points by Center Grove. That'll be an interesting one right there. Might be a little bit more than the 14. And then South Side at South Bend St. Joe, and you got St. Joe by 28. I like that one to be a little bit closer, but South Bend St. Joe still getting the dub.
Yeah, St. Joe really put it to the Archers last year, and they're coming off a loss again this year to Lakeland, another heartbreaker where they let one slip away. But we're excited for Southside. I too, would be pulling for the Archers, and they had a game last week. Swami said they'd win by 6. They lost by 6, but that literally could have went either way against Marion. Guys, a couple games I'll discuss here real quickly. Lawrence North at Northside, Jeff.
Ooh, yeah.
Swami's got Lawrence North by 14. It's a big 6A school that's, maybe has some slight edges in terms of depth and maybe even in the trenches. But man, it just seems like when Northside is doubted by the Swami, they rise up again, and that's one to keep an eye on for sure. Noblesville at Homestead. Remember what Noblesville did last year to Homestead? Just beat the tar out of them. After Homestead coulda, woulda, shoulda beat Carmel, lost 14-7 to the Greyhounds in week 1. So I think everybody was thinking, okay, Homestead's pretty good this year. And then they laid an egg in week 2. I want to see what kind of adjustments they make this year, second time around. And then let's see, after that, there's so many fun ones on here. I'll just go back to my Saints at home. Swami says Moeller by 38. I can't help but think that Dwenger had an interesting week of practice, and those coaches are going to do everything they can to put forth a spirited effort. maybe get a little more creative with their play calling, especially early on in the game, to kind of hang around, give those kids some confidence. So hopefully the Saints are within a 5 touchdown disparity there against a powerhouse from Cincinnati. All right, folks, that's it for this week's episode. Do you have anything else, Jeff? I'm sorry. Were you going to say something?
No, you just mentioned the Lawrence North game, and a matchup to look out for is Davion Chandler, ranked number 10 in the state for the senior class, going to IU. He's a great wide receiver, averaged 18.7 yards on 6 receptions last week in their rivalry win over Lawrence Central. But Davion Chandler versus Jamari Pearson from Northside, that could be your matchup of the night.
Yeah, must see TV for sure. That'll be fun to check out. Good call out, Jeff. Speaking of, for Jeff Mahoney from Summit City Sports, I'm Casey O'Boyle from Game Night. Jackson Geiger, doing a fantastic job, young man. Thank you. Gave us the thumbs up. One of these days we'll give him a microphone and let him chime in.
Casey, last thing before we go, Coach Daisy, thank you so much for this. I will wear this, just not at my place of employment, because Coach Blake from Busco will beat me down in the parking lot. Thank you.
Coach Daisy said he thought you would look very handsome in green, and I agree.
Thank you, sir.
So, yeah, thank you, Coach. And, again, prayers for Carson Strong. Let's keep praying for him and his family. So, without further ado, it's been Around the Fort, week 2 of 2024. We'll see everybody next week. Thanks for watching. Good night, everybody.
Have a great weekend, everybody.
White Shoes Kelly Chevrolet. We offer a wide selection of new and used inventory with a team that guides you to your perfect fit. Our certified pre-owned options ensure peace of mind with warranties and rigorous inspections. Competitive pricing, flexible financing, and convenient trade and services, making your dream Chevrolet a reality. Trust our experienced service team to keep your vehicle in top shape, and enjoy free car washes as long as you own your vehicle.